Welcome, everybody. We have a couple of minutes before we get started. Go ahead and locate the chat if you can, and feel free to introduce yourself. Tell me where you're from. Really, most importantly, tell me what brought you here tonight, because I'd like to answer all the questions and, satisfy your curiosity that, in fact, you're in the right place here tonight. So it's not quite 7 my time. We'll give people a couple extra minutes. Grouch Trader, you have to tell me something about what gave you that name. That's a funny Discord name. Ironically, I'm going to ask people if you can hear me to type something in the chat. Obviously, if you can't hear me, this will be literally a moot point, but perhaps somebody would be kind enough to let me know if you can see my screen. Portland, Oregon. Hi, Robbie. Excellent. So everybody, I don't know if you can see the chat or not, but Robbie quit their job to trade full-time. A fantastic jump. I've done that a few times in my life, and boy, it's been great. Hola, Jonathan and CZ, thank you. Thanks for letting me know you can see me and hear me. Like I say, folks, if you want to think about for a minute what kind of a question you might have, I'm happy to take that. I have to tell you that we're going to kind of do the drinking from a fire hose thing. Tonight's workshop is about the course Trading as a Business: How to Capture and Keep Market-Generated Wealth. If you'd like, also, you can let me know how long you've been trading. For me, it's upwards of 35 years. So if you're up in that area, we should go have a talk or something and reminisce about things these young kids can't imagine. Anyway, as we progressed in this course, the first cohort is on the 8th week. And what we really did in our examination of what people wanted from this was we looked and saw that what people are really wanting is freedom. They want to be financially free. They're not necessarily looking to retire, but they are looking for a way to make a paycheck optional. And I think that's most everyone's goal as far as financial independence goes. Very few people want to retire anymore because we're living longer, we're living healthier, and certainly for you folks more in the prime of life, there's no talk of that. All you want to do, I'm sure, is be able to have your time to yourself, for you to decide what you do when you get up in the morning, and for you to be passionate about what you're doing rather than having to work for what somebody else is passionate about. My name's Guy Robert Porter, and I have lived in St. Louis for probably 40 years. I went to college here, and I majored in philosophy and neurobiology. And when I graduated, none of the really big philosophy companies were hiring, so I had to work outside my field. I did a few things here and there. I was always interested in acupuncture, holistic medicine, and actually went to chiropractic school, got a master's in acupuncture. I spent 20 years teaching and practicing holistic medicine. Part of the favorite thing that I did at that time, though, was I was an adjunct professor. I was director of clinical research, and I have taught thousands of adult learners things from clinical research methodology, statistics, again, Chinese medicine. I just love teaching adults. I love to have a dialogue with people and to really see how we can bring out the best in each other with the kind of knowledge and the viewpoints that each person brings to trading. If you get into one of the discussion hours, or you come to one of the classes and people start to talk about their trading system, what's amazing is how many different viewpoints, absolutely 90 degrees away from yours. I mean, sometimes when you get in a room full of traders and ask each one of them what they're doing, you really wonder, are you the crazy one or are they? Because again, there's just so many ways to look at this market. And we're all looking at the market because it's doing something it hasn't done for really many years, and that is head downward at a rapid pace. So we are here. Actually, this is an old chart. We're really closer to down here. However, I started back in 1985 back here, so I have seen a bunch of stuff. And what's interesting is that none of it's ever repeated. In fact, these days in the market, rather than saying, I've seen this before, I think what most of us are doing is saying, I've seen something like it before. What has never happened? Let's make a plan for what has never happened. And I don't know, sometimes those things have happened. Who would have thought that the price of crude oil could be negative? And yet it was in 2020. Who in finance would ever have thought that an entire section of the S&P, an entire sector, would have a severely negative earnings for a quarter? And yet that happened in 2008. So what's great about the market is it's very unexpected. It's never boring. And if you stick with it, if you work your system and watch the systems of other people, you will get to a place where you are relaxed as you trade and invest. And when there's a market surprise, the surprise will be in your direction because you will have read the market correctly. And this is really a great place to be. And it's the place where I hope that all of you can get to. So a little about me. I mentioned that I grew up in New Jersey. This is what all my neighbors looked like. So sometimes when I get excited, I speak strongly, shall we say, and I use some strong language. I hope that's okay with you. If we are ever trading together and, for instance, you have purchased 10 extra options contracts and they're moving against you every 30 seconds, you'll hear some things from me as your risk manager that normally I might not say in public. So with all that said, I think the reason that people come to education is because they want to do better or because they have a frustration. So tell me what yours is. Tell me what you think is missing for you in your trading or really in whatever steps you're trying to take to grow your wealth. What's, kind of stopping you? And you're not allowed to say money. Okay, can't say that. Okay, so Eric made a lot of money in crypto, bought a place in Portugal, and lost a lot of money in crypto. Man, I feel you. I've had friends like that, and the great thing about the market is this: you get experience, and experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted. So you'll have plenty. If you've ever, that's excellent, Eric. We'll get to that in just a minute. If you've ever blown up an account, really don't feel bad, because I don't know anybody who's made 6 figures in trading who hasn't lost 5. I'm not telling you to go out and blow up an account, but certainly it's something that has happened very often. So Jonathan takes profit a bit too early. That was exactly the problem with one of the students that we had this past time, and we were able to figure out some interesting solutions about that. And Eric, this is very to the point. You don't have a clear vision of what to do next. And let me tell you, in my day job as a wealth manager at Lifestream Family Advisory, I work with business owners all the time, and the most important thing for someone to have if they're going to be financially independent is a very clear vision of not only what to do next, but where you're going next year and even the year after that. I'm not somebody who really believes in doing a 30-year financial plan, because who the heck knows what's going to happen next week. But you can get a lot of traction if you're willing to sit down and really plan out what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Satayan, how are you? Good to see you. Cutting profits early, letting losses run. I got to tell you that my fault in trading is I hate to take a loss. I am just a jerk like that. I hate to consider that I've been wrong or something. So something we certainly work on. Congratulations, Robbie. You have been the person to buy at the top. I personally have sold at the bottom. So, we've got some common stories there. Yeah, these are the things that happen often. And the solutions are sometimes simple. Sometimes they're simple to say and hard to do. For most people, the thing that comes up right at the top is the anxiety and the elation. Everyone wants to take the emotion out of trading. And if you think about the times that you've sold for that profit too early, it was an emotional response to do something. And when you think about the times that you've let the losses run for too long, this might be somewhat painful and triggering, but think about how it felt every day when you looked at that loss getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And think about the emotional matrix in you that wouldn't let you push the button on that. We certainly have a way to get around that, and you can literally condition yourself like a dog for 2 or 3 weeks and really change that up. Only one person, really, and that's been Eric, only one person has actually pointed to the fault that I see in so many traders, which is confusion. They can't really explain the method that they use. The red line crosses the blue line, and then I buy unless this or maybe that or whatever. And you don't have to be a computer programmer to do algorithmic trading. An algorithm is just a series of steps. If this is the case, then we will do that. This signal means this, etc. And by writing that out, you start to really gain control over your ability to improve. I started to take piano lessons, 10 years ago, because I always wanted to. And my teacher could actually trace her teachers back to Mozart. She was very strict about reading notes and reading music. And what she showed me was that became a framework for improvement. If you knew what it was supposed to be like, you could tell when there was a variation and so forth. And then at some point, the music becomes your own. And even though you're playing what Beethoven wrote, the emotions are yours. And your trading can be like that too when things become intuitive. For some of you, that's pretty far off. And for others of you, it's just really around the corner with a few different improvements. Okay. A lot of people complain that their returns are not consistent. They don't get to keep what they created. And one of the reasons for that has to do with asset allocation. We'll get into that a little later in the talk today. Trading mistakes. They're everywhere. It's one of the things that algorithmic trading can often really fix, because the computer just doesn't make the same kind of mistakes about pressing the wrong button or clicking on buy when you meant to click on sell. So those trading mistakes are something that happen to a lot of people, and they can be disastrous. Oftentimes traders talk in terms of bad entries or bad exits, and that comes down to really the second thing we talked about, the confusion. If you have written out what you think your algorithm is, it's a lot easier to not take bad entries or bad exits. And I do want to say at this point one thing, it's very important. If you're not trading algorithmically with a computer, then you're relying on your own wetware, and you will not be able to explain entirely your entire decision system, and that's okay. In fact, studies have shown that the more you actually try to explain a craft or an art or something like that, the worse you'll do at it temporarily. So we don't have to go all crazy with this algorithm, but it's important to try to at least scratch it out on paper, talk it over, have it make sense to another person, a different mind, so that you'll have a structure that you can improve upon. I'm very pleased with the class and the people that we have in it, even the people in the discussion section. What's going to cause improvement for you is a lot of self-assessment, a lot of honest self-assessment. And we go through that in the class right away. People are, I tell you about some of the dumbest things I've ever done. And, you know, for better or worse, every week I have a new source of little stories to tell you about different mistakes. So as we were working with, or as I was working with Robert and going through these classes, I said to him, you know, it would be really great to have a course generally about trading, a master course that would let people know what they were really up against. And we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the ultimate course would look like. See, at LumiWealth, this is what's different about every other, I don't know, internet course I've seen. There's a community here of very intelligent people. And because many of you have done computer programming, artificial intelligence, data mining, whatever, if you haven't done that, it's great to be in a room where people have done it, because you can get a direction for maybe the next thing that you need to learn. You can collaborate with them and talk to them. And we've had a couple of students start working together to improve their trading and so forth. So our course is the beginning of a community that's focused on the trading you want and getting you clear results. I have experience of this in my financial practice. I've been doing this for years with business owners. And Robert and I together have started to develop a simple 3-phase plan for people to really get the most out of trading. And if you're new to trading, if it's still a mystery to you, CZ, then this little framework could really help. It's just repeated over and over again. Design, develop, deploy. That's the first part of making your little system. We call it a minimally viable algorithm. That is, it's a little system that can make a little money. And once we have that, then we have something to work on so that we can develop it and scale it. So you really have to ask yourself, is this course for you? Is it right specifically for you? And I want it to be. And if it's not right for you, we can be friends, but you shouldn't take the course. So it's important to be collaborative. That is, we're going to be talking a lot in class. It's not a passive class where you sit and listen or do something else. I call on people and we talk and have conversations. It's for people who are committed, and it's for people who are coachable. So the thing about coachable is everybody thinks they are, but let me just tell you that when you're being coached, you're being asked to make a change. Might be a change in your code, might be a change in something pretty fundamental to how you handle money. But all change is painful and frustrating. And my commitment is to be with you through the change and the frustration. But I think we all know, we're all adults here. If you don't change what you're doing, you're not going to change your results. So consider that this is a time to enter into a phase where you're going to be coachable. And Of course, we want this to be the right time. So holidays are coming up toward the end of November and December. I want everybody to be able to spend time with their family. But when we have class weeks, you really do need to spend 5, and for some people, maybe even 10 hours a week, either trading, watching the market, reading, developing algorithms, whatever. You will not get the result by sitting in class for 2 hours and then waiting for the next class. It does take work. It takes work, and it's worth it because, as you already know, it's so scalable. If you have something that works in the market, in phase 2, we show you how to scale that ridiculously, and there's a vast amount of money out there. So if you have something that even is a little right, we can make it righter and bigger. So look, if there's people for whom this course is just right, there are people for whom this course is wrong. And that would be someone who's a spectator. We're not looking for people to just watch and, worse yet, sit around in class and say, oh, that was such a stupid mistake. I would have done this. You could have done that. There's no jerks in our class. We're really going to work together so that people can get what they want in terms of finding something that's going to help them grow their wealth and make it more permanent. And we're going to do this through trading. So I have some really bad news for you. Okay, and here's the bad news. What we're trying to do, according to professors, university experts, even some people on TV, what we're trying to do is theoretically impossible. The market is efficient. There's no way that somebody can have an edge or do any arbitrage and so forth. But I think Satayan can tell you that he's found a few inefficiencies here and there. And, it's not impossible. It may not be as scalable as you like. It's certainly not impossible. So I want to give you the really, really bad news. 90% of futures accounts that open up blow up in 90 days. Now, back 20, 30 years ago, not only did the futures accounts blow up, but an account executive who was helping you through your futures account could count on all of your initial deposit being turned into commissions and your balance becoming zero. It was just the way that they gave advice for day trading and so forth. It just happened that all money got expended in commissions and there wasn't any profit. So if you still have the chat open, tell me what you think is a good return on your trading, on your investing. What would be a good annual return for you? And I'm kind of sorry that I put this up a little too early, because now you know that the bar is not very high to become above average. Some people will say that they're aiming for 12%. Some people are aiming to get 10% a month. Some people want to double their money every quarter, and so forth. Not sure that doubling your money every quarter is possible unless you're in crypto. And then, of course, there are some other issues with what happens with that. So realize that the average person who either doesn't have an advisor or who has an advisor or a 401k and so forth, their average lifetime return is 4.3%. That's why there's a retirement crisis here in the country. And a lot of you folks are not going to have that crisis because you're going to do the right things. There's asymmetrical information, and you really, really need to think about this every time you make a trade, whether you're doing well, doing poorly, whatever. Every time you buy something, someone sold it to you. Now, did they sell it to you because they wanted to be nice and they hope that you do well? They did not. They sold it to you because their information said that the price in the future was going to go down, and you bought it because you think it's going to go up. So you really need to think about why your counterparty is doing what he's doing. Also, along those lines, there are certain tools, certain privileges that institutions have that are very hard for individuals to get, and we'll show you how to get them. We do a lot of work on the Interactive Brokers platform, and the reason for that is because you can literally have institutional tools and trade, $10,000 of stock in a scale trade that would either take a bunch of programming on your part or would be impossible to do at any other broker. So if I could just pile on a little more bad news for you. You see this, the people who built this shuttle and the people who do this for a living and the scientists who know all this stuff, this data science, you're going to meet those people because you're going to be trading with them. You see, every one of them has found out, like you have, that they can double their salary with the right kind of trading system and apparatus, with the right kind of capital behind them, and with the right kind of information. At Goldman Sachs, and this was even, 10 years ago, the starting salary for an algorithmic programmer with a master's or PhD in math was $600,000. And that's before the guy even made $1 for the company. So there are some big guns on the other side of your trade, and you are there in front of the computer with this matrix of doubt, previous losses, psychological stress, pressure, not to mention, if you're married, your partner really needs to be in on this with you. They don't have to learn trading. I'm not talking about that. But you can't be losing thousands of dollars and simultaneously trying to hide it from your husband or wife. That's not going to work. Everybody has to be on the same page in the game. Otherwise, the sheer mass of all this stuff is going to really take you down. So you're up against computers, you're up against geniuses, you're up against capital. How can you possibly have a chance? And yet it happens. So I want to tell you about a friend of mine. His name's Caleb. He's a cattle rancher down south. He has a wife, a baby boy, a baby on the way. And what Caleb does is, starting at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, he enters the futures market in the S&P E-minis. And he spends about 2 or 3 hours trading. And when he's done, he has the rest of the day to, he does a lot of work on his house. He does roofing, siding, painting. He just does every kind of building thing for his family and so forth. Spends time with his wife and kids at the end of the day, gets up and starts again. He does not have a degree in math. He does not have a bazillion dollars. There is no company behind him. But what Caleb does have is a degree of psychological and physical strength that probably no one here has, because he is a Marine. So he's been through a lot, and he's even said to me, Guy, some mornings trading, it's worse than a firefight. He's done a couple tours in Afghanistan. He knows what he's talking about. Trading's hard, but if you have that itch, if you've been bitten by the bug and you have the itch, you have some kind of inner superpower that can be brought out to make you a winner also. Here's a couple of examples from our class. There was someone who was overworked, software developer. And listen, I got to tell you, I'm not using people's real names because as far as money's concerned, people like to be pretty private. So, well, I'll just leave it at that. But the big idea and the issues are, in fact, real. This guy was able to identify the start of a 3-day trend, and he made leverage bets. His problem was, like we've identified here, he had a lot of outsized losses. So the first thing we did was figure out a way to enforce his stop losses. But then, instead of exiting on the stop, instead of waiting for the move to go against him and always closing the trade for the smaller amount of money, We figured out how we could do some profit projections and take profits at a limit order above the market instead of something below the market. And that really was very helpful for him. Jessica this is true, she has 2 kids, a husband in grad school. She's a soccer mom and a partner in her firm. So what she did was she took that algo course. She found an off-the-shelf algo that Robert had developed, put it together, and then just started to refine it. And the first problem was that the signal was great, but the gains were just very small. In fact, like with the Chet example, we'd see a large gain, and by the time we got out of the trade, it became a small gain. So we inserted some bracket orders, still getting small gains. Then we decided how we were going to leverage the system. And what happened then was, in our back testing, the system was starting to do so well that it exceeded the capacity of the market, meaning that as we were trading on minute bars, this system was trying to run $200,000 through a 1-minute section where there weren't enough contracts for it. So at that point, and it was a great point, at that point, when the market capacity was exceeded, we started to look at correlated markets, even some derivatives, in order to take advantage of the information that we got from the method. So I don't know if you guys have a little trading system that you like, if you've read about something, if you have absolutely no idea what to do. We take you from where you are. So it doesn't matter if you don't know how to trade yet. And if you do know how to trade using AI and algorithmic parameters and so forth, there's a lot of great things we can do, all the way up to, even putting your idea in front of a hedge fund, perhaps, and getting some super scaling from that. This is my friend Jamie. Jamie has his own way to participate in the markets. He's in finance. What he does is every so often he just pops in and makes 4 or 5 figures from an Amazon trade. He's an option trader. This is my business partner, Mike. Mike does no trading. He's an asset allocator. I know you guys would think it's almost impossible to make any kind of money if you're not doing a bunch of trading, but Mike's been able to send 8 children through private school from kindergarten to college, doing things the way he does them. So there's a lot of room for everybody to do their thing, as it were. So in short, here's the 3 phases. Figure out something that works so you can survive. Monitor it, manage it, and then leverage it. And then we can really scale. So the first section of our course is surviving. There's 3 phases. Each phase has 3 parts. The phase of survival is what it takes to get you a system that works. We do have to spend some time on you, your situation, have to know what a rational loss amount is for you. You have to know what kind of resources you're working with, etc. The fundamentals goes without saying, but then we spend a lot of time on your strategy. And again, if you don't have a strategy, let me just run 6 of them by you right now, really quick, okay? Trend-based systems. Sure, trends are impossible, but we see them all the time. They're very easy it's very easy to work a trend-based system with very little computation. You probably don't even know how to use Excel. You don't have to know how to use Excel. It's kind of like trading for artists, trading with the right side of your brain. There are a lot of systems that are so visual that they're just very relaxing. Mean reversion. Mean reversion means that when you think something's too high, you sell it. When you think it's too low, you buy it. People spend a lot of time trading back and forth. I think a lot of swing traders do this. We also teach a visual system based on information theory that was developed just down the street from where I grew up in New Jersey, a man named Shannon. Now, it's mathematically intense, but on a stock chart, You can see noise and information. Once you see it the first few times, you'll never unsee it. And that's why we have a section in the course called How to Read a Chart in 5 Minutes. Yeah, at LumiWealth, there's a lot of work that goes on with keeping your fingers on the pulse of social signals. There's a whole course on the machine learning to do that. We've mentioned before that there's the rebalancing and asset allocation, and I think probably most of you know about something called technical analysis. It's a way of torturing the data of price, time, and volume in order to see if it will yield any information. I know I'm being sarcastic with you TA guys, but nevertheless, that does get some great results. And all in all, we have these different ways for you to have a big idea if you don't have one. And as we've seen, you can just grab one and start. So once you start, we need to measure and monitor so that we can find out if you really do have something worth working on. Many of you do. So we think big, start small, scale or fail. Phase 2 is involved in implementing your system and then improving it. If it works, if we can monitor it well enough, if you really are finding some information in the data and using it, then we can leverage it. There's so many ways to leverage a system that this is really key. But you don't want to start on leverage until, and this is what phase 2 is all about, until you know how to monitor, manage, and improve. And I'm going to go through this very quickly. It has some mathematical stuff in it, but look, Excel will do this. Certainly Python will do it. You don't have to be a statistician to start looking at something, especially called the Sharpe ratio. It just gives us an idea of how much risk you're taking in order to generate that return. And then we look at a couple of other ratios because we want to know this, and this is really important. If you're trading, and you're trading every day, and you're trading 8 hours a day, and you're not making as much money as you could make by just putting your money into spiders, then you should probably just put your money into spiders because you're trading as a hobby and not trading as a business. And look, nothing wrong with it. Just don't do it with all your money. If you're trading as a hobby, do it with $30,000. But know that you are or are not adding value to what you're doing. And then lastly, once we've done all those things, there's a few parameters we can generate which would let other people know that you are worth investing in. Now, if you don't want to manage other people's money, no big deal. You know, having a little machine that cranks out a few $1,000s every month or every week, that may be what you want. That's just great. But here's the deal, and this is why we talk about trading as a business. If you're good at this, the government's going to really like you because you're going to be paying taxes. There's almost no way around it. So many taxes are optional in the sense that had you filed different paperwork, had you placed things in different types of ownership and so forth, there'd be a lot less taxes. But so many traders are so intent on their system and their speed and everything else that at the end of the year, they get a tax bill for literally 35% of their hard-earned profits. So I don't know how you'd feel with, making 40% in a year and then ending up with, 27%. It feels bad. I can tell you that. And I certainly hear the gnashing of teeth and the wailing from clients who are stuck with big taxes also. So those are the 3 phases of the course. If you're actually going to be successful in this, if you watch the movement of your wealth growing over time, what you'll see is that you're actually reallocating from your trading account to things that are a little more stable, etc. There's a way to move these assets to pay less taxes, to make them safer, to provide for the people in your life in case you're not there. I mean, if you're a wildly successful trader, plus you have a high paying job, and your spouse does not, really what will happen if you get hit by a bus? To be someone who is the earner, the star, the quarterback of the team, and not to be insured, it's just a risk you don't want to take. And I'm not trying to sell life insurance. I'm trying to tell you that if you do this right, you can actually get a bank to buy you millions of dollars in life insurance that you don't pay for. And if you trade like a business, we can show you how to do that. If it comes down to it and you make the choice that you're wanting the more individualized instruction, we have an app. It's called Elements. You download it, and it has each of these little blocks represents the result of an equation that has to do with growing and protecting your wealth. And in real time, you'll be able to see the changes, and I will be able to see wherever there are any bumps where we might need to take some action. So I do this, as I mentioned before, with business owners, and you know, somebody who owns a set of dry cleaning companies is no different than someone who runs a set of different algos and makes money. The guy with the dry cleaning has his money come in here in the income. The person with the trading business has their money come from the savings from various accounts to flow through their income. The next step is to figure out if you're paying too much in taxes. The answer is always yes. To make sure that you've protected yourself legally. And then really on a quarter by quarter basis, we're able to use this app to tell how far away from financial independence you are. So that's the advanced class. It's pretty exciting. It's for people who have been trading for a while, have some decent sized accounts. Wherever you're at in this though, here's the result you want for yourself. You want an integrated framework where you're always having the opportunity to develop, monitor, and implement your system so that you can improve it and scale it. And what we hope to provide is even a community where you can get ideas from people who are working with you and so forth. So I'm very excited for this. The first one has really made me excited to do more. So I want to just tell you, this is how we do it. If you go to LumiWealth.com, under courses, you'll see trading as a business. The course description, these are all the issues that we've discussed already. I want to customize the course. I ask all the time for what's specifically happening for your trading. What difficulties are you encountering? Because each week we're going to be answering the questions. If you come to the class without questions, you'll be able to see how well all the people around you do, but it won't improve your own trading as much as if you take the time to have some thoughtful questions. So our curriculum is on this web page, gets into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of it. If you don't know about options, futures, etc., we'll certainly have some basic material. This is where you'll have to do some reading on your own. I want to point out this, the Introduction to Market Microstructure. Almost nobody learns this. You think that when you sign on to the internet and your brokerage and you're pressing buttons, you think you're trading with what? The internet, trading with a machine. You're trading against actual people. And as we've seen earlier, actual really smart people. And if you knew what the groups of the people were, and if you knew what each of their purposes in the market was every day, it would really bring an edge to your trading rather than thinking that you're trading against a chart or you're trading against the next price or whatever. So we talk about that. I think that's unique for this course. We do a lot with your risk, building your system, etc. This is going to be very important. If you're not having a fully automated system, and really nobody is, there's always input from the human. Okay, if you're doing that, you really need to know how to take care of your brain and literally your consciousness. Otherwise, things will go badly. The fact is, if you have a knockdown, drag out fight with your spouse and your system's pretty discretionary, you should take the morning off. And maybe you should take the day off because it will affect you. And that's why we do a lot of the work with the clarity section, because we want to get through all the layers of things that might stop you or might be hidden even from you in terms of standing in front of your success. We go on to some more ways of improving your results. And listen, you guys can read through these things. So I will, I'll let you do that. If you're on this page, I got to say, this is pretty tricky. If you scroll down here, this is where your coupon is. Okay, if you go and select the course in advance, you'll have trouble getting back to this. I know I did. So there's two choices essentially for this course. One is to take all of the classes, come to all of the classes, ask as many questions as you wish, and really get into it. If you are going to do trading as a business, if you have substantial wealth that you're going to hope to grow and protect, then you'll want to think of the course with the personal coaching, because we will very specifically have not only me work with your trading, but I will, as needed, find other expertise if you need to have your business protected, if you need to pay less in taxes, etc. One of the ways that I really get to meet a lot of business people is that I tell them that if they pay $100,000 in taxes a year, most of the time we can cut that in half. People are very happy to save $50,000 a year in taxes. It's a happy event for everyone. So, at this point, you've got two choices. You know where you're at. You know what your results are. You can keep those. You can keep having them. You can act like a little pachinko ball going from place to place trying to find the answer. Or you could take this opportunity to spend 12 weeks with a group of committed people and a group of committed instructors and experts who are intent on making a really big difference in how it is that your trading goes and how it is that you amass wealth. So I've done this little comparison here. Let me see if I can put this in the chat, and maybe I cannot. All right. Nope. Okay. So I did this little comparison that nobody can have, and it talks about whether or not this course is right for you. So again, the live course has the 5 to 10 hours of work weekly. The Project Help has individual Zoom meetings. We're going to, if you get Project Help, we're going to really measure your progress in the live classes. We'll show you how to measure them. And if you want to do that on an Excel spreadsheet, you certainly can. If you come to these classes, it would be good to have a tradable account so that we can look at your results and improve them. Even if it's a paper trading account with Interactive Brokers, it's really important to have something that's going on. Okay, so Before I open the floor to questions, and if you have them, start typing. But before I do, I'd like to just leave us with two thoughts here. Okay, and it's this. I'm gonna list some events here. Each of these events, taken as a group, has two things in common. Okay, the Spanish flu, the crash of 1929, the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, and the climate change that happened, war in Asia, war in Europe, the Korean War, stuff with communists, social upheaval, problems with energy supply, and inflation. Oh yes, and a market crash. So can anybody tell me what two things each of these have in common? I don't really have the patience to wait for the 15-minute lag time. So I'll tell you, each of these things took place in the 1900s, and each of these things took place in the last 2 or 3 years. We've all been through a great deal. Imagine if you could have invested properly at the bottom of 1929. Imagine if you could have invested profitably at the bottom of 2008 when the S&P was at 70. These recessions are tremendous opportunities for people if you know what to do, if you don't get blown out by the severe volatility. So to answer the question about Elements, Elements is an app which is by invitation only. So I will send you an invitation and you download it. There's instructions. And what happens again is that there's about 10, 12 areas of your financial life that are encapsulated here in real time. And we get to watch the progress literally on a month-to-month basis. So that's been pretty exciting. Okay. Are there any other questions for me? I will put in the chat, I'd like to give you my Calendly link if you have a minute here. So my Calendly link is in the chat. If you feel like you'd like to talk to me for 30 or 40 minutes, just pop onto that. We can have a conversation. I do ask that, we do it by Zoom, and I do ask that you have an idea of what you'd like to talk about. But, with that said, I would just love to meet y'all and do whatever I can. You've graciously given me almost an hour of your time. I'm happy to give it back and help you with whatever you feel is stopping you in your trading. So I'm just going to wait a few more minutes to see if there are any other questions. And it must have been a great explanation because I've answered every question. Well, again, your time and attention they're very rare. They're yours to give. You were very generous with them tonight. I appreciate you all. I hope to talk to you again soon. And I guess if nothing else, I'll see you next Tuesday in the discussion room. Y'all take care. Trade safe.